It's going to allow the user to pick which device it finds. And then it will prompt you to connect. So there's when the user initiates the session, so if I say, when a user creates the peer picker controller, if you go to say, I want it to be nearby, and the user picks nearby, it's going to ask you for a GK session, which you're going to allocate and pass back. Then the user is going to be prompted with the list of devices that are available of all the sessions that it finds, and it will call did receive connection request from peer. Then it's up to you. So when you get a connection request from a peer, it's up to you to accept that connection or deny that connection. I'm going to show you the accept connection case in just a sec. But this is actually what sets you up. So once you've accepted the connection, your GK session can go ahead and start sending data back and forth. And you can accept connections from 10 different friends. You can accept connections from 1 different friend. You can deny everybody if you're miser. But that's it. It's really simple. So, well, actually, let's look at a demo. All right. So one little nuance about the GameKit stuff is, unfortunately, you can't do simulator to device. So when you want to test this, you actually have to do device to device or simulator to simulator. So you can run 2 simulators and have them do GameKit transfer, or you can run 2 devices and allow them to do GameKit transfer. We're going to do 2 devices today. Nothing special about the 2. It's just that they can't cross-pollinate. So, all right, real simple here, right? So we're going to, this is our app delegate. We're going to create this communal touchboard screen with this view controller. We're going to add it to our window, right? Nothing special there. And here is our view controller. Okay, what we're going to do in our view controller is, let's give ourselves more space here. All right. Let's look at the nib really quick. So it's just a blank screen with an info button down at the bottom. When I click that info button, I'm going to create a GK peer picker controller that will prompt me to choose another device. But this whole view is basically a touchpad. So whenever I put my thumb down, it's going to draw a red square where my thumb is. If I'm connected via a session to another device, it's going to send that touch data unreliably to another device. And the other device will paint my thumb location wherever, if device A, wherever my finger is on device A, device B will show that finger location, and vice versa. So before I show you the network stuff, let's look at the unnetworked implementation of it. All right, so here is my screen, nothing simple. I've got that little info button down the bottom. You can kind of see as I move my finger, I have a red square being drawn underneath. And when I let go, it's going to go away. It's hard to see because my finger's there, but if I had smaller fingers, it would be easier. But there it is. Now what happens is when I hit this info button, come on. There, we get a GameKit picker screen that comes up. And it's backwards, but basically it gives you 2 options. One is online and one is nearby. Before I get into that, let me show you what's on the back end. All right, so there's a bunch of processing here for doing the view drawing. Nothing really special. It's just keeping track of what points there are, and then it draws little red squares wherever the points are. And the view will appear, and view did appear. There's nothing really special there, except that we're saving off the device name to be our local username. Again, just more code here for doing touch tracking. I have a touches for user, so we can tell the difference between touches that are local, touches from another user. In fact, there could be 10 users. We can still tell the difference. Some methods for keeping track of those. All this will be on the website, of course. We'll look at this send local touches in a little bit. But here's basically what happens. We have 4 touch methods, right? These are standard UI responder touch methods. Touches began, touches moved, touches ended, and touches canceled. So it takes the touches. In this case, we're actually only taking the first touch. We're going to convert it into a touch value. And touch value is just my wrapper for the touch. We can't actually pass the UI touch around. So this thing goes and it stores the point. And we add it to our touch value array. And we tell the view to update. And this is true for all of these methods. We tell the view to update. And then we call send local touches, which actually sends the data over the network. So before we go into that, let's look at how the GameKit peer picker controller is set up when I press that info button. So that info button is actually going to call through to find peers. Okay? Find peers, all it does is it creates a peer picker, alloc init, sets ourselves as the delegate, and says that we want to either allow online or nearby. And then we call show. Right? Show actually puts that alert on the screen for the user. We won't get a callback until another user tries to, actually, no, we'll get a callback when the user's prompted with nearby or online. When I say nearby, we're going to get a delegate callback, which is session for connection type. And this is where we go ahead and we create our GK session. Once again, GK session is what actually handles the data transfer. So we create a GK session. Oh, I'm passing nil for the session ID. I don't know why I did that. But anyway, pass the username, the local name as the display name. And the session mode is going to be peer. All right, so that basically advertises the world at this point that there's a session available. There are a couple other methods here. So there's the did connect peer. Actually, you'll notice, so when the user picks a selection type, so if I pick online versus nearby, in the online case, that's where I would have to actually go and build a server or connect to some server in the sky. So for now, we're just going to dismiss the picker if I do that. But in the nearby case, I don't have to do anything. Like, it does it all for me. The session that I return from up here is our session for communication. All right, so the user has picked that they want nearby. They want to find other peers that are nearby on Bluetooth. They're presented with a list of other devices that are available. And when they pick one, they'll get called here. Peer picker controller, did connect peer to session. We get the session, we set ourselves the delegate, we set ourselves as the data receive handler. All right, the data receive handler is what actually allows us to get that receive data method callback. And we're going to store off the session just for good measure. I don't know why I'm doing this either, but basically I'm just sending an empty array to say that I don't have any touch information. And then we dismiss the picker and we auto release. So now, okay, so that's the connection side of it. Stop me if I'm getting too, if I'm piling on too much in one go. I want to look at the data sending and I want to look at the data receiving, which are the last pieces of this. Again, whenever somebody touches down in my view controller, I'm going to call send local touches. All right, send local touches is going to get an array of touches that we've saved off with every time we've done touches began, touches moved, touches ended. And we're going to archive that array to be sent. And it's data, data. And here it is, game session, our local session. We're going to send the data to all of our peers. So everybody that's connected is going to get our local touch data. Data mode is unreliable. I don't care if some of these get dropped, right? It might get dropped because there's too much network activity. It might get dropped because there's an error in the transfer, whatever. That's the sending of the data, right? So the same code is running on a second device, which is actually going to receive the data. So where did I implement that? Receive. Down at the bottom here. Receive data from peer in session. We get the value. We get the array back out of the archived data. And we set that into our touch values, and then we tell the view to redraw. All right, so that's a lot of stuff to digest, but basically, we're going to input touch information here. It's going to come over here. We're going